Two of the most powerful men on earth are at war. Not over trade, not over NATO, not over nuclear weapons, over a football banner. On one side, King Charles III, the British monarch, whose prime minister stood up in front of the world and said the Falkland Islands are ours, whose parliament demanded Argentina players be banned, whose government called it an egregious violation, whose Falkland Islands government wrote a formal letter to FIFA, whose 255 soldiers died defending those islands in a real war. On the other side, Donald Trump, the President of the United States, who sent his personal World Cup liaison Andrew Giuliani to say Argentina players have First Amendment rights, who was photographed smiling with Gianni Infantino at the trophy ceremony, who had already called Infantino during this tournament to overturn a referee's decision for an American player, who sided publicly with Argentina against Britain, King Charles's country versus Trump's country, at a World Cup, over a banner, over islands where people died in 1982, and FIFA is sitting in the middle of it, being pulled in two directions simultaneously by the two most powerful English-speaking nations on earth, and having to decide which one it listens to. Welcome back to Robert's Football Talk. I am your host, and if you are new here, subscribe right now, because today we are breaking down the most extraordinary political clash in the history of football, the full Trump versus Britain story. The Falklands, the banner, the demands from King Charles's entire government, the White House defense of Argentina, and the question that FIFA cannot escape. Whose side are you on? Subscribe now. Zero coding. Let us go. Part 1. What Argentina did, and what it meant to King Charles's nation. Let me set the scene properly, because the Trump versus Charles clash cannot be understood without understanding what happened in Atlanta on July 15th. England versus Argentina, World Cup semifinal. England lose 2-1 in stoppage time. England players in tears. And 3 minutes after the final whistle, Lo Celso reaches over the advertising boards and takes a banner from Argentina fans in the crowd. He did not look for it. He walked directly to it. It was pre-planned, pre-prepared, brought into that stadium specifically to be handed to the players at this exact moment. Lisandro Martinez, Christian Romero, Nicolas Otamendi, all holding it up, grinning, waving, posing. Las Malvinas son Argentinas. The Falklands are Argentine. Now let me tell you what those words mean to King Charles's Britain. The Falkland Islands are a British overseas territory. They belong to the British Crown. In 1982, Argentina invaded them. 255 British soldiers died fighting to get them back. 649 Argentine soldiers died. 3 Falkland Island civilians died. Real people, real deaths, real families. Argentina's players used that war as a prop for a victory celebration photo after beating England, on the pitch where England's players were still standing, and King Charles's entire country responded, from the top to the bottom, every institution, every level of government. Prime Minister Keir Starmer, the man who runs King Charles's government, said, "The World Cup might not be ours, but the Falkland Islands definitely are. Our position is unchanged. Our commitment to the Falklands will never waver." Business Secretary Peter Kyle, a senior minister in King Charles's government, called it an egregious violation. Said action from FIFA cannot wait until the end of the tournament. Members of parliament from both sides, government and opposition, the same politicians who argue about everything every single day, united, demanding Argentina players be banned from the World Cup final before it happened. The Falkland Islands government, the people who actually live on those islands, who were there in 1982, wrote a formal letter to FIFA, called the banner particularly insensitive, King Charles's entire nation, speaking, demanding, furious, and then Trump spoke. Now I want to ask you something before we go further. If you were King Charles, and you saw Donald Trump defend the people who disrespected the memory of 255 British soldiers at a football match, how would you feel? Drop your answer in the comments right now. Subscribe to Robert's Football Talk right now, because part 2 is where this becomes the most explosive clash between two allied nations in years. Part 2. Trump speaks. Britain cannot believe what it is hearing. The White House response came through Sky News sports correspondent Rob Harris, who reported that the White House backs the Argentina players' right to protest about the Falklands at World Cup matches, and rejects calls led by the UK government to punish them. Trump's World Cup liaison Andrew Giuliani said it is about First Amendment rights on freedom of expression. Let me translate what just happened. The Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, representing King Charles, demanded FIFA punish Argentina for a political banner about British sovereign territory. The President of the United States, who was photographed smiling with the FIFA president at the trophy ceremony, publicly sided with Argentina, against Britain, against King Charles's government, against the demand of an allied nation, First Amendment rights. About a banner at a football match, about islands that belong to the British Crown, defended by the American president. Think about the politics of this for 1 second. Britain and America are the closest allies in the world. The special relationship, shared intelligence, military cooperation, NATO partners, two nations that have stood together in every major conflict since the Second World War. And at a World Cup in America, Donald Trump publicly sided with Argentina against Britain over a banner about British sovereign territory. That is not a small thing. That is the American president choosing Argentina's right to make a political statement about British islands over his alliance's most fundamental members' demands for respect. And here is the detail that makes Trump's position even more explosive. He had already intervened in this tournament. He had already called Gianni Infantino to overturn a red card for American player Folarin Balogun. FIFA responded to that call. The red card was overturned. Balogun played. So Trump called FIFA and got a decision changed for America, and then Trump's White House told FIFA to ignore Britain's demand for punishment for the Falklands banner. One phone call to help America, public pressure against Britain, from the same man in the same tournament. Now let me ask you something direct. Does Trump defending Argentina against Britain tell you where his real loyalties are? Or is this just politics and nothing more? Tell me in the comments. I want both sides of this argument. Part 3. FIFA in the middle. The impossible position Infantino is in. Here is the situation Infantino is in right now, and it is genuinely extraordinary. Britain is pulling one way. The Prime Minister, the government, the Parliament, the Falkland Islands government, all demanding punishment for the banner. All invoking the Rodri precedent from 2024 when FIFA banned 2 Spanish players for chanting "Gibraltar is Spanish" about another British overseas territory. All saying apply the same standard. America is pulling the other way. Trump's White House defending Argentina's right to protest. Andrew Giuliani invoking First Amendment rights. The most powerful political figure in the host nation of this World Cup, publicly opposing Britain's demands. And Infantino, photographed with Trump at the trophy ceremony, already having responded to Trump's phone call about Balogun, already having written Argentina a friendship letter while they were under investigation, already having had his face go viral for looking devastated when Ferran Torres scored. Which way does Infantino go? Which power does he listen to? The British Crown, whose territory was disrespected? Or the American president, who was smiling next to him in the photograph at the awards ceremony? That is the question, and it is not just a football question. It is a question about whether FIFA is genuinely neutral or whether it bends to the most politically powerful presence in the room. Britain has the precedent. Rodri was banned. Morata was banned for chanting about Gibraltar. A lesser act than holding up a physical banner and posing for photographs with it on the pitch. America has Trump, and Trump has already proven at this tournament that his phone calls to Infantino produce results. The FIFA Ethics Committee investigation is ongoing. The banner charge is part of the formal proceedings. The decision is coming. And the entire football world is watching to see whether King Charles's country or Donald Trump's country wins this particular argument. Part 4. The precedent. The rule. The decision that FIFA cannot escape. Let me give you the legal framework that makes Britain's case so strong. Article 34.3 of FIFA's 2026 World Cup rules explicitly prohibits players from displaying any political messages or slogans before, during, or after a match. After. The word is there. The banner was displayed after the final whistle. Still prohibited. 2024. UEFA Euro. Rodri and Alvaro Morata, both banned for 1 match each for chanting "Gibraltar is Spanish" after Spain won the tournament. Gibraltar is also a British overseas territory. Same situation, different tournament, same rules. FIFA applied them. Argentina's Lo Celso, Martinez, Romero, Otamendi held up a physical banner, posed with it, laid it on the pitch. Multiple players involved, more visible, more deliberate, more documented. If FIFA applies the Rodri precedent consistently, multiple Argentina players face match bans from World Cup matches. Not fines, bans from the 2030 World Cup. Britain is demanding that consistency. Shadow Business Secretary Andrew Griffith said it directly. FIFA in the past have fined Britain for wearing poppies on their shirts and suspended Spanish players when they called for Gibraltar to be part of Spain. So action this day from FIFA, whether it is fines or suspensions. This cannot wait until the end of the tournament. The precedent exists, the rule exists, the evidence exists on camera from every angle, multiple players, a physical banner, planned in advance, executed deliberately after beating England. The only thing standing between that evidence and the Rodri-level punishment is the question of whether FIFA listens to Britain or listens to Trump. Part 5. What comes next? And what it tells football about who actually runs this sport. Here is the verdict that this entire story is building toward. FIFA will issue a punishment for the Falklands banner. That punishment is coming. The question is what it looks like. If FIFA bans Lo Celso, Martinez, Romero, and Otamendi from future World Cup matches in line with the Rodri precedent, then Britain wins. The rules apply equally. The political pressure from Trump's White House was resisted, and FIFA demonstrates that no government, not even the host nation's president, can override the consistent application of its own regulations. If FIFA issues only a fine, a number, money, paid and forgotten, then Trump wins. Argentina gets away with a political statement about British sovereign territory at a World Cup with nothing more than a check. The Rodri precedent is ignored, and FIFA tells the world that its rules apply differently depending on which powerful political figure is defending you. That is the choice. And it tells you everything about whether the organization that runs your sport is actually neutral, or whether it is simply responsive to whoever has the most political power in the room. King Charles's Britain is waiting for the answer. 255 families who lost someone in the Falklands War are waiting for the answer. The people of the Falkland Islands who wrote to FIFA are waiting for the answer. And 44 years after Argentine soldiers invaded those islands, and 44 years after British soldiers died taking them back, Argentina's football players held up a banner on a World Cup pitch, and 3 minutes later Trump's White House said they had the right to do it. That is where we are. That is the world football is operating in right now. And Robert's Football Talk is the channel telling you the truth about it. That is the full breakdown. The banner. King Charles's entire nation responding. Trump defending Argentina. Infantino photographed with Trump. The Rodri precedent. And the decision FIFA must make that tells you who actually runs world football. 3 questions. Drop all 3 in the comments right now. First, should FIFA apply the Rodri precedent and ban Lo Celso, Martinez, Romero, and Otamendi from the 2030 World Cup? Second, does Trump defending Argentina against Britain at a World Cup damage the special relationship between America and the United Kingdom? Third, when FIFA announces its punishment for the banner, which way do you think they go? Britain's demand for bans or Trump's defense of Argentina? Drop everything below. I read every single one. And King Charles's country is watching. This has been Robert's Football Talk. Hit that like button. Share this with every England fan and every football fan you know. Subscribe if you are not already here. New videos every single week. I will see you in the next one.